coming to you from Los Angeles. I'm Claudia Bester, I'm the Director of Hammer Public Programs, and I am super psyched for tonight's Literary Deathmatch Quarantine Edition. Before we get started, I have a few notes for the audience. This program is being conducted via Zoom webinar, and we cannot see you in the audience and we can't hear you. We can just see your names and anything you type into the live stream chat window. We'd love for you to all introduce yourselves in the chat and tell us where you're tuning in from, and it's also an area where the audience can all talk with each other. Please note this program is being recorded and will be available later on the Hammer website. So now on to the show. Your MC host extraordinaire is Mr. Adrian Todd Zuniga. Adrian is the author of the novel Collision Theory, which was a finalist for the Forward Indies Fiction Award. He's also the Writers Guild Award nominated screenwriter of the playable movie Long Shot in Madden NFL 18, which features one of my favorite actors, Mahershala Ali. And Adrian is the host and creator of Literary Deathmatch, which has occurred in over 60 cities worldwide. And I know this firsthand because I myself went to Literary Deathmatch in Shanghai a couple of years ago. But tonight's show has got to be the greatest literary deathmatch ever to happen in Zoom. And now here to tell you all about it, please put your hands together for Mr. Adrian Todd Zuniga.
Hello, my name is Adrian Todd Zuniga. I'm the creator and host of Literary Deathmatch, and I'm here to welcome you to Literary Deathmatch in Quarantine, Episode 1, presented by the Hammer Museum. Now, this is our first ever online-only show, so I have no idea how it's going to go, but I have it on good faith that this is going to be the greatest hour and 12 minutes we ever spend together. As we haven't done a show in a while, I do want to take a second just to first acknowledge and thank a few people. First, all the incredible frontline workers who are risking their lives. Amazing. Thank you. The extraordinary Black Lives Matter protesters who've given me and so many of us astounding amounts of hope. Thank you for that. It calls to mind a quote from James Baldwin, who said, "Those who say it can't be done are usually interrupted by others doing it." And then lastly, I want to quickly shout out to the teachers who I expect to strike at any second. And just to let you know, we're with you. Thank you for whatever you decide to do. Also, sports don't need to hurry back. People are dying. Okay, now on to the literary facts. I already mentioned his name, but I'm going to bring him back now, which is James Baldwin. He's the author of The Fire Next Time, Go Tell It on the Mountain, Sonny's Blues, If Beale Street Could Talk, an incredible author. And I found two really interesting things about him. First of all, he was roommates with Marlon Brando before either of them got famous. I mean, that's totally blew my mind. And they even marched together on Washington in 1963. The second thing was Baldwin was sued for not finishing his memoir because he died. McGraw-Hill took the unprecedented step of trying to recoup the $200,000 advance. And it took 3 years for them to realize, I guess he's just not going to finish it, to drop the lawsuit. Finally, there's this quote from Baldwin, which I love. And I think is really powerful, especially in this moment. And that's, "You think your pain and your heartbreak are unprecedented in the history of the world, but then you read." Literary Deathmatch. And there's also a friend of Baldwin's that I wanted to call out because she's one of the most extraordinary women that's ever written anything, Maya Angelou. And she wrote, I know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And that's a memoir that Baldwin actually challenged her on. He challenged her to write a piece of literature. Now, Angelou, I've already said she's incredible, but I'm just going to run off some things that she did that blow my mind. First of all, she mastered 5 foreign languages: French, Spanish, Italian, Arabic, and the West African language Fante. She was also a guest star on an episode of Sesame Street, the dream of every writer. And she had her own line of Hallmark greeting cards. How fun would that be? And this is really the creme de la creme. As a teenager, she won a scholarship to study dance and drama in San Francisco, but dropped out to become the city's first Black female cable car conductor. Now, her mother was very worried about her doing this. So she used to drive alongside her in her car, alongside the cable car, to protect her. And she had a gun on the passenger seat. The NRA was super supportive of this. I'm just kidding. They're terrible in every way. Now, I'm going to move on to the show. Not that it hasn't already started, but I'm going to explain the rules. Tonight, we have 4 incredible writers who are going to read their own work for 5 minutes or less. And they're going to be judged by 3 amazing judges in the categories of literary merit, performance, and intangibles. They're going to hear 2 writers in the first round, and they're going to pick a winner from one of those 2. Then they're going to hear 2 writers in the second round. They're going to pick a writer from one of those 2. And then those two finalists are going to compete in the literary deathmatch finale, a vaguely literary game to decide the winner. Now, you might be thinking, this is too amazing. I probably can't take it all at once, but just sit tight. You definitely want to see this finale, and you can play along at home, which is half the fun. Just download a Cyrillic alphabet while you watch. Also, if none of what I just said made sense, I'm sure 20 to 30% got through. Michael C. Hall of Dexter fame called the show a highbrow, lowbrow literary game show clusterfuck. So effectively, that's what you're going to see. The show has been held in over 64 cities around the world. Over 64? Exactly 64. I should say over 60. It's the 506th literary deathmatch ever. Usually we do them in front of crowds, and usually we would see you there and be thrilled. But we're thrilled that you're here on your couch. We don't usually do mini performances where we just go to somebody's home and put the whole show together and just do it for people on their couch. So this is quite an exceptional, exciting show. And I thank the Hammer for allowing us to do it. Now, one more thing. If you want to follow along at Lit Deathmatch, we have somebody who's going to be tweeting about the show as it's happening. So, make them feel good about themselves. Tell them who you love, what you think was amazing, what joke you would have made, and then how much you nailed the finale. Now, it's time to intro the judges. And judging literary merit, he's the podcast host that you know and love from Love It or Leave It, Pod Save America. He's the co-founder of Crooked Media and a former Barack Obama speechwriter. That's right, it's John Lovett!
Thank you. So lovely to be here. What a delight. How you doing?
Thank you for being here, John. We're thrilled to have you. And judging performance. She's the award-winning actor. You love her from Precious, from Empire, from American Horror Story, and she's also author of This Is Just My Face, Try Not to Stare. Put your hands together for Gabby Sidibe. Thank you for being here, Gabby.
Thanks for having me.
I cannot wait to hear you judge. And now, judging intangibles. She's a stand-up comedian, a writer and actor. You've heard her in Bojack Horseman. You've seen her in Space Force. You've loved her on stage. It's stand-up comedian Aparna Nancherla. Thank you for being here, Aparna.
Thank you for having me here.
I hope you feel uplifted by that introduction.
I do.
Introduction music. Okay, so to start the show, I thought, which we've started, I feel like we're already in the middle of it. I wanted to ask each of the judges a question so the audience could get to know you better. John, we'll start with you. A question you've never heard before. When E.B. White recorded his audiobook for Charlotte's Web, he kept breaking down, and it took him 17 takes to record the death scene. So I wonder, what's the most impressed you've ever been with your own work?
What a great question. Thank you so much. Would also just say that this is a literary event, and that was a Charlotte's Web spoiler. I was recently driven to tears by a spinach and artichoke dip I created. That was, it was hard to put into words. And that's all I want to say about it.
Fair enough. Thank you, John. Judging literary merit. Now, Gabby, Dr. Seuss loved to smoke a pipe but wanted to quit. So he filled the pipe with dirt and planted strawberry seeds in it. And when he felt the urge to smoke, he watered his pipe with an eyedropper instead. So with that in mind, what weird but possibly charming thing have you done to break a bad habit?
My cat had about a 2-week habit where he was pooping in my bed. I know that sounds gross, but it was really happening. So he had somehow scared himself in his litter box and decided that was now a bad place. So what I had to do is I had to keep moving his litter box to places where he was comfortable to break him from pooping in my bed, and it worked.
That's amazing. I love that you now sleep around a litter box. I think that's that's the trick of this. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Gabby. Now, my something just dinged and dinged, which I thought I turned off my messages, but apparently not. So now we're going to move on to Aparna. Aparna, at the 1987 National Book Awards, everyone there expected Toni Morrison's Beloved to win. But when Larry Heinemann's Paco story was announced as the winner, Morrison was so stunned that she lost, she grabbed a lit cigarette from the person sitting next to her and took a puff. I don't even think she smoked. So I wonder, what awards were unjustly taken from you, and what was your reaction?
I think the first time I was screwed over on an award was in kindergarten. My kindergarten class, the teacher gave out superlatives at the end of the year. And instead of getting one of the cool ones, like, you know, best hair or most likely to bring back fascism, I got sweetest, which doesn't even mean anything. It's such a nothing word. And the weird thing is my reaction was the exact same. I grabbed a cigarette out of the kindergartner next to me and I just took a puff. But the thing is, I was already a smoker at that point.
As we all know. Thank you very much, Aparna. Thank you to the judges. We're thrilled to have you here. And now we're going to jump into round one, and I'm going to introduce our round one readers, starting with the NAACP Image Award nominated co-author of I'm Not Dying With You Tonight. And her How Can We Win viral video is honestly one of the most important things on the internet. I truly mean that. Put your hands together for Kimberly Jones! Thank you very much for being here, Kimberly.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And her opponent. He's an arts advocate and the author of Some of Us Are Very Hungry Now. Joining us all the way from Iowa City, put your hands together for Andre Perry. Thank you for being here, Andre. Now, usually we do a coin flip to decide who will go first. And the coin is usually a way for me to give you hard-hitting literary facts, like Lord Byron's nickname for William Wordsworth was William Turdsworth, or quotes like this one from Isaac Asimov: "There's a cult of ignorance in the United States nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge." But we don't have to do a coin flip because Zoom restricts us from doing it. So the reading order has been predetermined using random.org/lists. Shout out to you guys. I don't know why you don't have 1 million followers. So Kimberly will be reading first. The rules here, 5 minutes or less. If you go over time, I will ding this literary deathmatch flask. I mean, look at that. That's a powerful sound that will stop you in your tracks. And then if you go 30 seconds over, I will ding it 3 times, which will give you an alert that you have 5 seconds to finish up. Let's see how it goes. Kimberly Jones, 5 minutes or less.
All right. Carlson's hardware store. We're running again. Adrenaline courses through my legs, making them tremble, but I hold back. If I run flat, I'll lose Lena. When I turned around earlier and couldn't see her face anywhere in crowd, I almost fainted. That was the worst moment of my life. I could be at the store already if I let go and fly, but we shouldn't separate. Besides, my ankle twinges every time I step, and I'm not sure it's as okay as I thought. Maybe I couldn't fly right now, even if I wanted to. Sweat pours off my face. My backpack bangs hollowly against my side. Laughter with all the water gone. I wish we hadn't emptied it completely. My throat aches from the smoke, and the burn stench clogs my nostrils. God, what if this fire spreads down to the store? What will be worse, finding out it's been robbed or burned to ashes? A nasty pit forms in my stomach. When my dad quit paying child support a few years ago, my mom lost her house. What will happen if the store goes? Would he go bankrupt? I'm not sure. I really know what that means. But I'm guessing he'd lose everything. Where will we go? Maybe he could get an apartment, or we could stay at his fishing cabin. Does he even own that? Would he want me to stay with him, or would my mom have to take me? If the idea of transferring me to a foreign school before the year started made her melt down, imagine asking her to move me in the middle of the year. She'd hit the roof, and so would I. I speed up. We can't lose the store. We just can't. Next to my dad's store is a pharmacy, and one before that is the little organic sandwich shop where my dad was hoping I'd get a job. My stomach swoops. We're close. The sandwich place should be closed at this time of night, but the lights are on. A group of young girls crowds around, all dressed up like they were at one of the clubs, limping around on bare feet, high heels in their hands, feet bloody. The owners, a young couple my dad told me quit their corporate lorry jobs to open the shop, appear in the doorway, huddled together. After a second, the man flips the locks, pulls his apron up over his nose and mouth, cracks open the door enough to slide outside. He steps behind the girl, a fountain of dreadlocks pulled up on the top of his head, bobbing around, and begins to shoo them in. As the girls squeeze through the minuscule opening, he raises his arm, swiveling his head back and forth between the street and the door. His wife, still visible in the door frame, holds a gun. Jeez. Before I see whether he gets all of the girls safely inside, we're past his place and racing by the pharmacy, which looks hard hit. All the windows and the sliding doors are shattered. A steady stream of people stumbles over broken glass to get in and out. My dad's place is next. I run past the alley between the pharmacy and his store, glancing briefly into it. Normally, my dad parks his truck there, but of course, he's at the cabin. His truck isn't there. A faded blue sedan sits in that spot instead, and all I could think of is how annoyed my dad gets when someone takes his space. If he were here, he'd have that old beater towed in a hot minute. And then I hear the burglar alarm yelping. I skip to a stop in front of the door and gasp. No, I whisper. My shoulders begin heaving. It's destroyed. The store is demolished. The big glass window is shattered. There was a Halloween display I helped my dad create. Some pumpkins and hay bales and a homemade scarecrow on a bench wearing a button-down shirt and a store apron. The pumpkins lay on the ground, some inside and some outside, all but one smashed to sticky, slippery bits. The scarecrows tumble from the bench and restlessly pathetic on its back, straw pants legs straight up in the air. One of the hay bales is gone, flung into the street and torn open. Straw litters the display and trails out onto the sidewalk. And the stack of the supplies we used to create the display, drills, hammers, and boxes of nails, twine balls, all gone. Oh my God, Lena says. I stare at the destruction. The door hangs from the hinges, a huge splintery crack in the center when someone must have kicked it in. A piece breaks off, thumping my shoulders as it falls. I was too stunned to see it coming. I cry out, but not from pain. I'm so numb. I can barely feel. What are you doing? Lena grabs my shirt and pulls me back. You can't go in there. What if they're still inside? I yank away. I have to see. Dear God, she whispers and scrambles after me. The lights are all on because selfish Nikki didn't bother to turn them off before he fled. So the place doesn't feel scary. But I'm crying so hard. Everything looks blurry. They ransacked the counter, strewed papers all over, bashed open the cash register. I don't need to go over to see it's empty as the shelves. They've torn down all the merchandise, pulled products from the hooks hanging on the walls. Packaging and trash litter the floor. An end cap of batteries has been knocked over. Most are gone, but there are still a few scattered around. I step forward and hear the snap of plastic. Under my heel is a vanity license plate, the kind you hang on a kid's bedroom door. The bright orange plastic reads Daniel. Now it's cracked in two. The round wire display rack that used to stand by the register lays on its side. A rainbow of vanity plates spilling across the floor. I slide over to the next aisle. Someone's yanked all the boxes of nails. All those neat, orderly, carefully divided little boxes have been flung open and spilled on the floor. They didn't even take the nails. They just wrecked whatever they could get their hands on. There's a thunk, the clank of metal on the tile floor, and the sound of voices. Lena swears under her breath. I jump, slipping a little onto the debris. Campbell, no, Lena whispers. She must think I'm going to head towards the noise. Am I? I don't know what I'm going to do, but they must have heard her because suddenly feet are thundering towards us.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kimberly Jones. Thank you very much, Kimberly. That was wonderful. She did come in at 6 minutes and 40 seconds. So she was a little over time. The judges will be the judges of that. But now our second reader, put your hands together for the one, the only Andre Perry, 5 minutes or less.
I just got to show some love to Kimberly. Thank you for that. It's an honor to be here with you. All right, I'll jump into it. Dear Emma, I was in Iowa City in the student union for a concert, and I was surrounded by over 1,800 white people. I was alone. I was the smallest black man in the world. Outside, the air was warm and dry. Summer had yet to touch down with its fever heat and thick humidity. Inside, the body steamed up the room. Everyone looked so young. I stood near the back where the congestion thinned out. Up front, it was wild. The students fervent in their adoration, their devotion to the man on stage, Kendrick Lamar. He had rolled onto the platform dressed in a black crewneck sweatshirt, charcoal jeans, and white high tops. He wore a Yankees hat with the NY logo surrounded by 2 hashtags. He looked down at us from the stage and asked, "What the fuck am I doing in Iowa?" The students erupted. When a song finished, the kids stood up tall, with their hands in the air, looking like corn crop in late summer, ready for picking, ready for consumption. I was enthralled, less with Kendrick and more with the scene. I marveled at how the deeply considered music of a black man from Los Angeles could resonate so vigorously with the white student body from Chicagoland and Iowa. I wanted to understand how much of what he meant by his words had possibly been lost or actively discarded in translation. I wanted to understand why an album, Good Kid, Mad City, that I felt so connected to on headphones now seemed like it was several acres away, with the divide of college students between me and the artist on stage. I was getting queasy. My hands were sweating. My face turned hot, and I didn't quite understand why. I inched back slowly with each song, getting closer to the venue's exit. The beat for Mad City dropped in like a series of disorienting thunderclaps. It was shocking. It was amazing. Something detonated in the students around me. They left their feet, their eyes glossed over with fascination. The opening hook unfolded, and I sensed immediately there would be a problem. As Kendrick sang, "Man down, where you from, nigga?" and ensuing lines all ending with a declaration of the N-word, it seemed as if the entire room chimed in, shouting along with genuine enthusiasm. The roar of almost 2,000 white people shouting nigga in a room with a black man on stage took on an odd quality, like a twisted reshaping of a rally of nationalists and fascists. I looked around me, peering at the enthusiastic youth, and felt almost entirely alone, separated from my music, my blues, my town, my identity. Kendrick beamed on stage, energized by the power, the taut grip of his music. I backed out of the hall more intently than before. I walked outside where it was warm, quiet, entirely serene. I wondered, is this the legacy rap has left us with? Do these students understand the blues that run so deeply in Kendrick's songs? Do they understand that these are work songs, God songs, gospels, redemptions, as much as they are anthems for parties with kegs and cocaine and university-branded sweatshirts? In the faraway future, when they, the people have survived humanity's current savagery, look back at our culture and study our music, what will they call rap? Will they call it by that name? Over 100 years from blues to jazz to rap come to be understood as one insistent call from a tired but endlessly resilient and expressive people? Will they simply call it Americana? My head was full of confusion, as it often is. I briefly considered seeking solace in the bar in glasses of whiskey and beer, but my compass endured, and I climbed the hill toward my home, toward you. I knew I would find warmth by your side. It's the place I go when I've been left alone or have stumbled by my own stupid actions. I fall into your arms, as I always do, as I always will. Your skin is as pale as mine is dark, and in that way, we're America too. Thanks.
Wow. Thank you very much. Andre Perry coming in at 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Thank you very much. What a round. We're now going to go to the judges. We're going to start, you'll go first speaking about Kimberly Jones in order. So we'll start with you, John, for Kimberly's literary merit.
What a beautiful, moving story. I would rather not call it judging, but rather just say how I felt in listening to it. And I think what I found really moving and beautiful about it is the connection between the kind of the places a mind can go, even in a moment of fear, and to school and a cabin and like what happens next, even in the middle of a frightening and dangerous situation. And I think it's, you know, the fact that in hearing it now, we don't know the context, you know, I don't know the context beyond your sharing the story. It makes it such a universal description of someone's pain and fear at a time in which the experience of seeing a place destroyed, right, has become so politicized and so often used as a cudgel in either direction. So I just found it to be a beautiful and moving experience listening to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Love it with literary merit. And now we're going over to Gabby to hear about Kimberly's performance.
I think it was really, really beautiful. One, it's a really beautiful piece of writing. I just really loved it. I know that there was more than one character speaking, because the way that you performed each character, while they are both intensely running, they have a different emotional tie to what they're saying, and I could tell, which was really, really great. I loved how at the beginning it's running and you were sort of like speeding through it, like almost trying to get through it. And then when he stops and thinks, once you turn the page, it almost settles. You like get lost in the thought, in the universe of the fear and of this person and the father. It's interesting how much space the father can take up while being absent. I just thought it was really, really, really beautiful and emotional, and I could keep up with where the characters were, which is, I think, very important when you're reading.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gabby, with a performance. And now we go over to Aparna for Kimberly's intangibles.
I just want to echo what everyone else said and just how powerful and moving your story was. Unfortunately, I am the judge of intangibles, so I'm forced to be funny and bring humor into what I'm supposed to say. So I just went ahead and free associated during your story. And the first thing I thought was that my anxiety, just in general and in my person and being, felt very seen by your story. I felt like there were a lot of moments where it just was like, hey, I relate to that sense of dread and urgency. And just the fact the story started with running, it was like you were already in it when it started. You mentioned the store, going to the store, and I'll be honest, and this might not be inappropriate, but the first time I heard the store, I did feel a little horny because I have been in quarantine for a long time, and any mention of the outside world kind of brings up a lot of just a mix of emotions that I haven't fully untangled yet. Again, my anxiety spiked when you mentioned the pharmacy almost getting destroyed, because that is how my brain stays stable a lot of the time. And again, I felt very taken care of as a reader when you mentioned the vanity license plate said Daniel, because I just feel like there's so many opportunities to make a bad joke with a vanity license plate, and you didn't go for that low-hanging fruit. And lastly, just the roller coaster nonstop energy of this story made me think of the fact that on roller coasters right now in Japan, where they've reopened theme parks, they say not to scream out loud because it might spread COVID, and to just scream in your heart. And so I feel like this story really did make me scream in my heart. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Aparna, with intangibles. And now we're going back to John Lovett to hear about Andre Perry's. I just coughed. I choked on my own throat. To hear about Andre Perry's literary merit.
So I've often felt an emotion at concerts, and it's an emotion of, why are we here? This is an ear experience. What am I supposed to do with my eyes? That is my general reaction to concerts. I found that to be in a giant crowd full of people and feeling alone, and the strange experience of watching all these white people take in Kendrick Lamar, I was really interested in it. I have definitely wondered about a similar thing and watching people embrace hip hop or rap, but not necessarily reckon with what it means for them to consider it their music in that moment. And I found that to be a beautiful elucidation of that problem from your point of view, to watch all these people embrace the parts of the music they like while not necessarily embracing the parts that might require some thought. The other thing I found just to be a fascinating question is the question of looking back from a really long distance, how this music will be treated and will be part of one kind of art, or will it have its own place? I found it to be just a fascinating question, explored from the point of view of somebody experiencing a sense of isolation in a big crowd. I thought that was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John Lovett with Literary Merit. And now we go back to Gabby to hear about Andre's performance.
So, Andre, I've been in spaces where I was the only Black, and for some reason, everyone wants to look at me for permission, maybe to say the N-word. And I was transported right back at, some Childish Gambino concert, or the premiere of Hateful Eight, where everyone needs to find me and be like, how many times did they say the N-word? Did you like it? Yeah, shut up. So I was right back there. I noticed you were looking down at the page. It almost looks to me like your eyes were closed, and you were rocking back and forth as if you were praying. And I thought, well, aren't you just praying? Isn't it a prayer? It's kind of, it's sort of beautiful. And it's like this sort of, this is ours. This is mine. Like, this is mine. You don't have access to this. You have access to this, but you don't understand. You did not go through all of the things that we've gone through to have this, and how dare you? I really loved it. I thought it was really moving, just seeing, just the stillness, but also the rocking of your body as you were reading, reminded me so much of it was like as if you were reading a Negro spiritual. I loved it. I felt it.
Thank you very much, Gabby, with performance. And now back to Aparna to hear about Andre's intangibles.
Yes, Andre. So good. Such a different energy, but just as powerful. I have to just start off with the fact that you gave Kimberly her kudos at the beginning. Very classy move. I'm here to appreciate class in all aspects, especially on Zoom, where we so often just turn into animals. I also felt very seen anxiety-wise by just the social anxiety of being in a crowd, being in a minority in a crowd, white people in the majority at a rap concert. Is just all these situations just fuel terror. And I just started drawing during your story, because I also found your voice very soothing, and I felt inspired to create myself. And I did, in fact, just recreate the Mona Lisa here on my page. So don't look at it too closely, because it will start to fall apart. But I think a lot of that is just due to the magic you are weaving with your voice. So very well done.
Thank you very much, Aparna. Thank you to all the judges. And now what the judges are going to do, they're going to dial into a secret number. And they're going to speak amongst themselves, challenges of Zoom. And they're going to decide who will be the night's first round finalist. Before I say another word, Kimberly and Andre, thank you for bringing brilliance. That was fantastic. And now I'm going to blather a little bit. So if you haven't been paying attention, the world is on fire, but only figuratively, metaphorically, and literally. So the way I have typically found hope is just staring at dogs. I look out this window and see dogs going by and just imagine their wonderful lives. And so I started thinking about authors and their dogs, and or authors and their pets. And so I just thought I would give you some author pet information, because I find pets very soothing. So Nobel Prize winning author Doris Lessing once said she owned an alarming amount of Rhodesian bush cats. Just to give you a sense of the number that alarming equates to, it's 40. Then there's John Steinbeck. He loved dogs. And his original manuscript of Of Mice and Men was eaten by his dog, Toby. And he had to call and tell his agent. And he said, I was pretty mad, but the poor little fellow may have been acting critically. And there's New York Times bestseller Kristin Arnett. She's the author of Mostly Dead Things. So she has a pup named Lola who had a frog land on its butt, making Lola run around the entire house with the frog perched on its butt. It was like a bucking bronco situation. And when she told me that, I was like, the things writers will be distracted by to get out of writing. You know, it's pretty wild. And then there's PEN Faulkner Award finalist Amelia Gray, whose pit bull Dodger was sitting on the lap of her husband, Lee. And Amelia was pitching Lee short story ideas. And when she got through a couple of them, she asked Lee what he thought, and Dodger just puked kibble all over both of them. So she decided to, rethink those stories and go another way. Judges, no, the judges are not ready. I'm sorry. They're still discussing. I just saw a moment where I thought a flash. And I just found out this today, that Lord Byron kept a pet bear at Trinity College since dogs weren't allowed. This was his grand, FU. And when I heard that fact, I was like, when I started Literary Deathmatch in 2006, I would have loved that fact. That would have been so hilarious. But now I'm like, if Lord Byron were alive today, he'd be walking through the streets of Tampa with a bear on a chain and no face mask. I can just feel it. And it just makes me, he's the Turdsworth. Am I right? And if you're looking to name an animal, don't follow my lead. When I was 3, I named my poodle Fluffy. Instead, follow the lead of Chester Himes. He's the father of the Black American crime novel. And he called his Siamese cat Griot after the magicians in the courts of West African kings. Fluffy. I'm so ashamed. It's just so terrible. Okay, I'm going to glance at the judges. Oh, the judges are just off the phone. Are the judges ready? Because I'm locked and loaded with an Edna Ferber fact that everybody's hungry for. But no, the judges are ready. We're going to go. I'm going to just pick one of you, if that's okay. Or does somebody feel like they want to speak for the group? Okay, I'm going to throw Gabby under the bus. Gabby, she loves this. This is her favorite moment of the day. You can see by that reaction that she was ready for it. So Gabby, if you could say a few words and announce the first finalist of the night while everybody at home holds hands.
A few words. We did speak, John and Aparna and I, over the telephone. It was a hard decision to come to. It was also a very confusing thing for all of us to do. And we couldn't really figure out, are we done? Do we hang up? What do we do? But we have decided that the winner of this round is Kimberly Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Kimberly Jones. And one more time for Andre Perry. Thank you both. That was incredible. Kimberly, you're the night's first finalist. Andre, stick around. You're going to be part of the finale, because what more fun could anyone have? And without further ado, we're getting rid of a do, and we're just going to jump into round 2. So, reading in round 2. She is a New York Times columnist, the author of the New York Times bestsellers Hunger, Bad Feminist, and Marvel's World of Wakanda. Put your hands together for Roxane Gay! This intro music is the funniest intro music I could possibly have found. And her opponent, she's the New York Times bestselling author of Good and Mad and All the Single Ladies. Coming to us from Maine, it's Rebecca Traister! Thank you for being here, Rebecca. So, Roxane, you're going to go first. The coin flip has been done. So we're going to let you fire away. Roxane Gay for 5 minutes or less.
All right. This is just a short story called Open Marriage. Having a heated debate about whether or not yogurt can expire when my husband suggests we stay together but see other people. He says open marriage intrigues him, that he couldn't be happier, but he read this article online. I tell him yogurt cannot expire because it is filled with bacteria. I don't know if this is true, but I have seen commercials about yogurt that mention things like bacteria and the word probiotic, so I feel I have a sufficient command of the topic. I give him a look. I say he's welcome to try and find other women to sleep with, but I'm fine. And his face falls because he thinks I'm playing a trick on him. I'm not. He has no game, none at all. If I hadn't taken matters in hand, we would still be sitting on his couch in his bachelor apartment, his arms stretching around my shoulders after every yawn. I am not at all worried. He's the kind of man who gets ideas, but is largely unable to follow through on them. As we're talking, he shoves his hands into his jeans. This is something he does often, that there are shiny silver marks on the upper thighs, where his fingers can reach from inside his pockets. He leans against the kitchen counter. He says he wants cultivating an open marriage to be something we do together. I politely decline once more. I say I'm not inclined to open my half of the marriage, which only confuses him further because I'm quick-tempered and what he calls feisty, which only means I talk back to him and give him roadhead every once in a while. And I'm the first woman who has ever done that in his limited experience, so it's still something of a novelty, still something that requires terminology. I take a bite of the yogurt that started our scientific debate. It expired more than 4 months ago, but appears edible. When I dip my spoon into the plastic container, the yogurt gives way easily. It tastes sour. My husband's face is red and sweat beads on his upper lip. He asks if I would seriously be fine with him having no strings attached sex with another woman, and I say, yes, baby, of course. He tells me I'm amazing in bed, that it's not about being unsatisfied, and I say, yes, baby, of course. I rock his world on the regular, and we both know it. He can barely string 3 words together after we make love. He just lies there trying to catch his breath, muttering, God damn, over and over. I say, good luck and be safe, and don't you break my heart, baby. Don't you break my heart. His eyes widen. I eat the entire container of yogurt, even going so far as to scrape the sides of the container until it is clean. I vocalize my appreciation for my expired yogurt and do a lot of elaborate spoon licking. I hold my husband's gaze the entire time. He was a virgin when we married, so he looks away first. Thank you.
Roxane Gay coming in at 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Incredible. And now, our final reader of the night. Put your hands together for Rebecca Traister.
I can't believe that I am in competition with all these extraordinary writers. This is ridiculous. Anyway, I'm reading something because I've been thinking about power and disruption, and this is actually about the hashtag #MeToo movement. It was Woody Allen who first called it a witch hunt, publicly at least, in an ill-thought-out interview 10 days after the Weinstein allegations came to light. Professing his sadness for the women who'd accused Weinstein, Allen had warned, you don't want it to lead to a witch hunt atmosphere, a Salem atmosphere where every guy in an office who winks at a woman is suddenly having to call a lawyer to defend himself. The analogy was inane for several reasons. Primarily, that the atmosphere in Salem, Massachusetts between 1692 and 1693, during which 20 people were executed and 4 others died in prison after having been accused of witchcraft, was probably not at all like the atmosphere in the office where the guy winked at the girl that one time and then had to call his lawyer. But even putting aside these details, the many critics who would follow Allen's lead by describing the hashtag #MeToo movement as a witch hunt failed to grok some of the key differences between witch trials and stories of sexual assault and harassment. Witch hunts entailed agents of the state prosecuting and trying civilian women and some men for, and this part is important, a crime that was not real. Those same powerful agents of the state, magistrates and governors, would then sentence those civilians often to long-term imprisonment or death based on fantasized evidence of meetings with the devil in the dark woods. The movement spurred by Me Too, by contrast, involved civilian women and some men telling reporters the stories of how mostly men more powerful than they had discriminated against them, assaulted them, coerced them, touched them, damaged their careers. In the cases in which those accused faced repercussion, their sentence, sometimes a firing or a forced resignation, was decided not by the state or by the accusers themselves, but by individual employers and institutions, many looking to cover their own asses and obscure their own complicity. It was not a witch hunt. But it was an instance in which some men who had lost their jobs or sustained reputational damage, and apparently that felt to many of them as if they were being massacred. "I was ambushed and then perp walked," Tom Brokaw had written in a letter to colleagues after a woman had told a story about him trying to kiss her against her will. "Taken to the guillotine and stripped of any honor and achievement I had earned in more than half a century of journalism and citizenship." There had been no guillotine and no perp walk and no stripping of honor, at least not until this stupid letter. MSNBC commentator Mike Barnicle had mourned publicly for the injury done to his friend and former colleague Mark Halperin. "He deserves to have what he did deplored," Barnicle declared on television, "but does he deserve to die? How many times can you kill a guy?" Halperin was not dead. The ability to narratively flip the dynamics of aggression and abuse, to view the less powerful as a menace to the aggressors, has been key to how white patriarchal structures have persisted. It's how police can systematically kill Black people. But when people protest those killings, they can be called terrorists on the news or a hate group, as they have been by the Republican pundit Meghan McCain. It's why, when Freddie Gray was hauled into a van by police in Baltimore in 2015 and taken on a rough ride that resulted in his death, multiple news reports asserted that the violence began when agitators threw rocks in protest of his killing, and not with his killing itself. The violence done by a more powerful entity, the police and the state, to a less powerful entity, is so normalized, so banal, so expected as to not even be discernible. But angry resistance to that violence coming from the less powerful, directed at the more powerful, is automatically coded as disruptive, dangerous, chaotic. Chaos was what former Senator Barbara Mikulski had remembered in 1991, when the women of the House had banged on the door and insisted that Senate Leader George Mitchell talk to them about letting Anita Hill testify against Clarence Thomas. There was a sense that the whole process, if not spinning out of control, was getting very chaotic, Mikulski remembered. Hill herself recalled that Senator Mitchell's approach had been, "Let's keep things under control, under his control." Now, yes, things were out of control. That was the point. Because control was no one being able to report the story of Harvey Weinstein raping women. Control was Donald Trump getting elected president thanks to voter suppression and an electoral college designed to suppress and thus better control non-white populations. Control was ensuring that no one cared about the abuses sustained by Ford factory employees or flight attendants. Control was all male presidents and vice presidents. Control was only 2 Black women senators and no Black women governors in the history of the country. To some extent, women who wanted liberty and equality knew they had to create some chaos. And yes, it was moving with such velocity and intensity that it was terrifying in its unpredictability. But it had to be radical and wrathful and energetic to get people to pay attention and to actually alter the power dynamics. This was what it meant to say that we wanted the world to be different, not in some hazy future after all the old, not different men had retired from their perches and died peacefully in their sleep. We wanted it to be different now, and that meant dethroning some of them early. Things had to get out of control. The law cannot do it for us, Shirley Chisholm had said. We must do it for ourselves. Women in this country must become revolutionaries.
Rebecca Traister, thank you very much. Coming in at 6 minutes and 8 seconds. I didn't ding the bell because I just wanted to hear the rest. So now, we're going to go back to our judges. We're going to hear from John Levitt speaking about Roxane Gay's literary merit. But we're going to do it without the mute. I feel like the lip reading.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Unmuted. I feel honored to discuss this story. There's a quality that Roxane has that I feel often comes through in her tweets. Which is, in a word, withering. I also really enjoyed from a literary point of view, the role that yogurt played in this story. It is both it exists both as a proof point of her correctness, as just another example of her being right in this story, and then also it becomes involved in a vaguely sexual enterprise. And I find any time that dairy can be brought into marital relations in some fashion is exciting to me from a literary point of view. Also, just as I found it informative on yogurt. I found it useful to understand how to think about yogurt, when to give up on yogurt, when not to give up on yogurt, and a title, Open Marriage, you're in. All right. And you know what? At 2 minutes and some odd seconds, I was left wanting more.
Thank you very much, John Lovett with Literary Merit. Now we're going over to Gabby Sidibe to hear about Roxane Gay's performance.
Hello. Okay, so I love this story. I love the performance of it. I could see this woman. I could see her holding the yogurt. I could see this man, her husband, stupidly asking for this open marriage so clearly. Very calculated, very calm, like a sociopath, but not the killer kind, the kind that's successful. Like the good kind of sociopathic behavior. I thought it was really, really, really great. Also, you said so much in such little time. I thought it was really, I could see the entire world. I can see their entire marriage. I can see, although, yeah, she took his virginity. Who does he think he's going to go out and bang? I loved it.
Thank you very much, Gabby, with performance. And now we head over to Aparna for Roxane Gay's Intangibles.
Yeah, I also love this story. I think that at the beginning you came out strong with just yogurt and polyamory, like within the first 10 seconds, and you got my attention right away. And it started to make me think, because I think yogurt is the perfect food to pair with polyamory, and that it's like a food that some people just love and swear by, but then other people don't get it at all, which just felt like the perfect food to pick. But it also just put this strong image in my mind of just like a throuple taking an afternoon and all wearing just like loose robes and spooning yogurt into each other's mouths, which was just a haunting image that I couldn't shake for most of the story. And I just felt like that was all part of your just creating the scene so strongly. I also love that your story had both mentions of the phrase make love and roadhead. I just felt like that just showed the range that you were really covering with your words and in such a short amount of time. And then lastly, the man putting his hands in his pockets. I had a strong reaction to that, and then I realized why. It's because I'm like an introvert and I consider pockets like safe spaces for my hands. So I think I just love the reminder that pockets exist. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Aparna with Intangibles. And now back to John, who's going to be speaking about Rebecca's Literary Merit. Unmutedly. Got you again.
I got a barking dog, okay? I have a barking dog. We're in a delicate negotiation. I really enjoy the argument that I made. It did three things that I always appreciate. One, it destroyed a dumb analogy. I always enjoy watching that happen. I think the witch hunt idea is always very silly. Oftentimes they mean witch trial. We're actually at the trial phase sometimes, and they never really to the trial phase in the analogy. So I really appreciated that. Two, the difficult work of unpacking unspoken assumptions. I always love, the choice of words that happen before we get to the conversation. I found that to be riveting, and the rigor of the attacking of these sort of premises, I really appreciate it. And finally, I am obviously, I personally always appreciate when Woody Allen is torn to bits. That's something that I have a personal bias due to a connection to the family. Also, on a moral level, I find it valuable. I saw Annie Hall long before I ever met Ronan, and I said to myself, okay. thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you very much, John. Love it with literary merit. And now we're going over to Gabby to hear about Rebecca's performance.
Rebecca, what a wonderful piece. Really, really wonderful. I loved it. I took in everything I can see. Let's start with this wallpaper. Gorgeous. Fireplace, also gorgeous. Here's why that's important. I feel as though I'm about to go to bed and you're reading me a bedtime story. And this story is wonderful because in it, men are terrible and they will be beneath my feet when I sleep. I love that. I loved it. The system, men, get thee behind me, devils, get under my feet. I loved it. I want more of it. I feel what I feel is safe. I feel safe and cozy here, just like a blanket wrapped around me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabby, with performance. And now back to Aparna for intangibles for Rebecca.
Yeah, I was similarly like Gabby, also taken with your background, just in that it was mentioned that you're in Maine. And as I'm in New York right now, just the reminder that there are places that exist without humans just crowding into each other's breath all the time just made me feel at ease even before you started. So that was just a plus 20 in your direction. And Woody Allen, right out of the gate, another strong choice. I kind of think of him as the yogurt of male celebrities, going to bring up a lot of strong reactions, probably past his expiration date, but we still buy him. I also just love the name. This is kind of neither here nor there, but the name Mike Barnacle, which I was not familiar with this man, but what an evocative name. I'm sorry, due to my very short attention span, which I blame the internet for, I just then imagined Mike Barnacle as a sort of sea creature type thing, and that was a delightful image. And lastly, I also decided to just draw while you were talking just to see what came out because you were weaving such a deft argument. And I ended up with just Edward Munch's The Scream. So I feel like that is kind of a good summation of the Me Too movement and overdue scream that needed to be heard. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Aparna. Thank you again to the judges. Now the judges will recede towards mutedness and to calling one another on the secret literary deathmatch line. And before I say another word, Roxane and Rebecca, thank you. Those are incredible pieces. Thank you for doing it. Now, back to hear me blab about some stuff. I thought it would be a good idea to talk about Hamilton, the Pulitzer Prize-winning musical written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. His favorite movie growing up was Little Mermaid. Just a little fast fact. But I also love that his mother is on the board of the Planned Parenthood Action Fund. That doesn't surprise me. Now, I know for a lot of writers right now, sheltering in place has made writing very difficult, but I think we should actually look to Lin-Manuel because it took him 6 years to write Hamilton. And he packed 20,000 words into 2.5 hours. That's 144 words per minute. And the song Guns and Ships, that clocks in at 6.3 words per second. That's an incredible feat. And think of it this way. If Hamilton were sung at the pace of the other Broadway shows, it would take 6 hours. And quite frankly, Disney, we have the time now. If you want to go ahead and release that version, I'll watch it. But here's probably the funniest thing I found about Hamilton. After reading Ron Chernow's Hamilton biography, Lin-Manuel Googled Alexander Hamilton hip hop musical and was shocked no one had already written it. He was just like, I can't believe it. And my reaction to that is, what? That's like Philip K. Dick Googling, do androids dream of electric sheep? And being like, really? No one's taken this title yet. It's on. It just seems like a crazy thing to think. Oh, are the judges ready? The judges are ready. Yes, the dog is back. Is the dog going to participate in the final judging of the night, John? Oh, it's muted. Okay. It just
no.
Okay.
She's not.
She's definitely
well,
not.
She could. Come on.
If we needed a fourth vote. Okay. In this case, we're going to go to Aparna. Aparna, you're going to say a few words, announce the night's second finalist or final finalist. Are you able to do that?
Yes, this was again a very close call, and we had a tough time having to decide between two very strong, equally gripping in different ways pieces. But the winner we went with for tonight was Roxane Gay.
Roxane Gay, congratulations. You are the night's second finalist. And one more time, give it up for Rebecca Traister. I imagine people, when I say put your hands together at home, they're just like, well, how? Because we don't need volume. But thank you so much for reading once again. And now, without hesitation, we're going to move into the finale. It will be Roxane versus Kimberly. And the way this is going to work, so let me explain the finale first. I emailed everyone a PDF of a Cyrillic alphabet that translates into an English alphabet. And so for tonight, I wanted to do a game called a Cyrillic Off. Now, the reason we're doing a Cyrillic Off is we just want Russia to leave our elections. Oh,
I don't have that.
You don't have it?
No.
Oh, no. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to email it to you right now.
Awesome.
Live on the show. This is how quickly we're going to work. Let's see. Okay, did everybody else get the key? Da, 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 da. Bam. Dope. Okay, it's on its way. I'm sorry, did everybody else get the key for the finale? Okay, good. Okay. Brian, we're back on. We never left. I think it's fun to email mid-show. It's exciting. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. If we could scroll the slide forward. So you're going to see author names written in Cyrillic. And the goal is to shout out that author's name in English. So everybody will be participating. You'll get a point for each answer, and most points wins. So just so everybody knows what team they're on, just for fun. John, you're going to be supporting Kimberly along with Andre. On the other team, we've got Roxane, who will be supported by Aparna and Rebecca. Now, here's an example just to let you know. So you would use your key, and you could slowly but surely figure out that says, I mean, you guys already know this, but that says Kimberly Jones, Andre Perry, Rebecca Traister, and Roxane Gay. It's pretty obvious once you look at the key. It only takes a couple hours to figure this out. And here, we put literary merit in the place of John Lovett because he embodies it. And then you can see Gabby Sidibe and then Aparna Nancherla. So for everybody participating, we're going to go through these slides. And if you know the answer, shout it out. I might have to ask which team you're on because I always get confused. But does everybody understand the rules? Yeah, fine. All right, let's go to the next slide. Ready, set, Cyrillic off. Here's round one. Everybody turn their mics off mute. If you know this answer, you can shout it out. Okay, this author's real name is Gloria Jean Watkins.
Oh.
Her writing is focused on white supremacist capitalist patriarchy.
Wait, where's the Cyrillic?
Angela Davis.
Angela Davis is incorrect. Aparna, you should have the key, but if you look at the chat, you can download the Cyrillic alphabet.
I don't know how to read the key. It's really too hard.
It's very confusing. But once
these
Bell hooks.
Bell hooks is correct, Rebecca is correct. That means 1 point for Roxane Gay. It's happening, and we're off and running. Everybody is lost, but don't worry about it. So on the key, because it is very confusing, I looked at it earlier and I was like, nobody's going to figure this out. The left column is both capital and lowercase Cyrillic, and then it goes English.
Oh, I see.
It's definitely baffling.
So
Bell hooks, easy.
Oh, I get it. Okay. I could tell you how I was reading. I'm very, very embarrassed, but that's okay.
Don't worry, we're in the first round, and you just scored a point. And now,
I just want to be clear that I cannot spell in my native language. I don't have that. Like I don't. This is a real struggle for me, and but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying sort of watching other people, figure this out.
It's great. Well, I'll be listing off facts as we go. So that might be where you clue in and you go, I know who that is. Okay, we're going to go to round two.
Where's the slide with the Cyrillic name? I don't think I'm seeing that.
Are you seeing anything that looks like Imdb Count Nachmeher or no?
No.
Oh.
No.
Brian, is it possible to make, anybody else can continue to shout it out well. Team Kimberly.
Emily St. John Mandel.
Emily St. John Mandel is correct. Who said that?
I did.
Congratulations, Roxane. You're up 2 points. Aparna, are you still in the dark?
Yeah, I'm not seeing the clues.
So are you seeing the screen where there's all 9 of us? And then it's at the bottom?
Oh, wait. Maybe that's... Okay, now I see it. I see it.
Aparna took herself offline because Roxane's up 2 points. Now, Gabby, just so you know, you're officially on Team Kimberly now. You were like a swing vote, but now because she's down 2-0, you are up for Team Kimberly. Here we go. Number 3. She's a McCarthy.
Octavia Butler?
That's correct. It's 3-0. Team Roxane. This is an extraordinary. I didn't realize Aparna actually spoke Russian, but now we know.
I just looked at the shape of the name.
It is now 3-0. Team Roxane up 3-0 as we go to the 4th slide. Okay, Aparna, what do you got now?
Boy. No.
John Lovett, looking at the key, looking at the clue. I feel like he's got it. It's the first published African-American woman. John Lovett, so close to screaming it out and getting Kimberly on the board.
Phyllis Wheatley.
Phyllis Wheatley is correct. That is now a 4th. It's very clearly Phyllis Wheatley. Look at it. I have no idea.
Clue. It wasn't looking at it. It was the clue. Looking at it, didn't you notice?
Okay, it is now 4-0. Roxane, Kimberly being shut out so far. So to make it fair, we're putting everybody on Team Kimberly's team. It's Roxane against the world until this thing gets a little bit tighter. Roxane, who already nailed Emily St. John Mandel, is very confident. You can see it on her face. She feels like she's this close to victory, that she's got it. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Wait, there's no dots on my. There's other notations. Oh, I see.
Yeah. What?
What's the clue though?
He's Portuguese.
Should I leave?
Oh.
John's been figuring it out. That's how impossible this is. He is a winner of the Nobel Prize.
Huh.
The N with that weird thing is a J.
That's a J?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Crazy.
Oh.
Saramago.
Jose Saramago is correct, ladies and gentlemen. Roxane Gay has done it. She's taken on the world and won. She is the literary deathmatch champion. I'm going to put this around my laptop. There we go. Roxane, congratulations.
Kimberly,
amazing.
I feel like I let us down, and I'm sorry.
Smoothly that went.
It's okay. It's Roxane Gay. I was outside of my weight class.
Not at all.
The trick is just studying Ukrainian first. But Roxane, congratulations. Just 1 sec. I want to go to Kimberly. Kimberly, you came on like a house of fire in round 1. You beat the unbeatable Andre Perry. The odds in Vegas had him in the lead, but you showed how incredible you were. What is it? How do you feel right now?
I feel great. I felt very much today like I was honored to even be in the same space as these people. And I am like a shamefully crazy fangirl of Roxane Gay. So to lose to her is the best day of my life.
Amazing. We're thrilled that you're here. I feel honored. Thank you so much for doing this. Roxane, this is your second. Oh, she's getting the calls are pouring in.
My mom.
She wants to call. She wanted to help. She's like, what? They're going to put her 1 versus 8. She'll take care of it.
Yep.
Roxane, your second literary deathmatch championship. You were incredible. You took down Rebecca Traister. She's amazing. What does this mean to your literary career?
Honestly, the biggest honor I've ever received and ever will receive. Get all those awards. This is it. So I'm going to wear my medal everywhere.
Amazing. Thank you so much to Roxane, to John Levitt, to Gabby Sidibe, to Aparna Nancherla, to Kimberly Jones, to Andre Perry, to Rebecca Traister, to Jenny and Claudia at the Hammer Museum. This has been an incredible show. Thank you so much for joining us. If you watch this, let everybody know that it will be online ad infinitum, if that's the proper term for that, so you can make everybody watch this incredible show. And thank you all. Call your mother. You missed it.